Hi there, Kim Carter here, and I've got something different for you today. Back in September, my husband and I decided to celebrate our 11th wedding anniversary with a special Discord hangout. I thought I would share that experience with all of you. We discussed everything from creating audio role plays to our wedding to our pet peeves, and even gave out some relationship advice. Of course, nothing is without its technical difficulties, and I did forget to start the bot that was recording the session until we had already begun. So you will hear this start in the middle, and the question that I am answering is, what is my favorite gift my husband has ever given me? So that's where you can pick it up, and I hope you enjoy.
Oh, right. I didn't answer that question.
She has no favorites. She hates them all.
No. Um, I actually don't think I can pick between these two. So I forget if it's definitely not the first anniversary. The second anniversary might be the cotton anniversary, whichever one it is. For the cotton anniversary, he got me this cotton like terry cloth white robe. And I absolutely love it. And I'm very short, but he always makes sure to get me things that aren't too long for me, so I'm not going to be tripping on it. I actually still have it because I love it, and I just loved the amount of thought that went into it. That not only did it like fit the like theme, but was something that I was going to use. And I get cold kind of easily, so just something I can like snuggle up with and wrap up in. So that's definitely a favorite. Um, I would say my absolute favorite probably though is our first Christmas together. So we'd been together about um 7 months at that point, and he woke me up on Christmas morning in bed and handed me a jewelry
Bow chicka
box.
wah.
I hate you. Hands me a jewelry box, and I open it, and it's a pair of diamond earrings. And as I do, he turns to me and says, "I love you," for the first time. So that was definitely my favorite. That was pretty unforgettable. Which is funny because he almost let it slip early. We were at an amusement park, and I could tell like it was kind of on the tip of his tongue, but what he said instead was, "I adore you." Like he changed it at the last second because he was saving it. Okay, the next thing. The next question is, what was your wedding song and what's the significance behind it? So that's actually an interesting question because our song is actually Happy Together by the Turtles, but we actually didn't do that as our first dance because it's not really a slow dance. So I didn't want to do that as our first dance. So the first dance at the wedding was actually Kiss from a Rose by Seal. And we actually did a little bit of a choreographed dance to that, which stressed Feldman out greatly.
Not only were we getting married, I had to learn a dance. It's brutal.
You did it though. And the only downside to that is the videographer stood on the wrong freaking side. He should have stood on the other side because we had like moves and stuff that were like aimed toward the audience, like dips and things. He was on the wrong side. Anyway, that's okay. But anyway, those are our two songs, and I don't know that there is a ton of significance behind Happy Together. I think we just both like it and thought it suited us.
Agreed.
Yeah, no deep significance there. Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot people. One of my nicknames for him, besides Feldman, which I really only use on here, is Commander Oblivious. And also Admiral Apocalypse. So
It's not entirely inaccurate.
I got him a t-shirt that says Admiral Apocalypse on the front with like a little explosion, and on the back it says Commander Oblivious. So there you go. All right. Bird has a very sweet question for us that I actually haven't really thought of an answer to, so I guess I'll have to answer that on the fly. What is your favorite part of being married to each other?
I'm getting the look that says I need to answer this question first. So definitely one of the things that can be difficult in relationships is communication. And one of the things that we do really, really well is communicate with each other. And part of that is having, self-awareness to say things like, "Hey, you know what? I'm cranky today. Just leave me alone for a while and I'll feel better." Or, "You know what? I'm feeling, sad today and I need some hugs." Stuff like that, as opposed to just like, keeping everything internal and seething and, being crabby for no reason and, refusing to communicate. So definitely the communication is huge, and it's something that really helps us have, an ongoing happy relationship, because if there's something wrong, we talk about it as opposed to just sort of, letting it fester.
In fact, that was the point of one of the readings that we had at the wedding. So the first reading at the wedding was Shakespeare, and the second reading was Dave Barry. It was an excerpt from a Dave Barry book with this really funny story about this couple not communicating. And we actually had two of our friends do like a dramatic reading of it. Basically, it's like a couple in a car driving home after a date, and the girl says, "Do you realize we've been dating for 3 months?" And I think the guy either says like "huh" or doesn't say anything, and then the rest of it is just like their internal dialogues, and the woman is like, "Oh my god, I shouldn't have said that, I'm putting so much pressure on him," and like goes on and on and on, and the guy is just like thinking about the car,
He's like,
about
"Huh, three months. That means this damn transmission's been acting up for almost 4 months now." He goes into this whole thing about how, he brought it to the shop and they screwed him. And, the girl gets all emotional at some point, and it's
yes, because she's like, do I want more from this relationship, or am I happy? I'm being so silly. I know there's no white knight on a horse coming in to save me or whatever. And so she sees, his internal monologue is about the car, and he's getting angrier. And so she sees that on his face and thinks it's her fault. So she's like, "Don't torture yourself like this. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I know it's silly. There's no knight and there's no horse." And the guy's just like, "There's no horse?" Because he has no idea what she's talking about. So that's the whole thing, is that you have to talk to each other because you can't assume that you know what the other person is thinking. So I think I'm just probably gonna steal your answer, but that's the
literally the worst.
no. Okay. The best part of being married to Feldman is that we get to spend every day together. That's the best part because
Aw.
um and I love being able to go anywhere with him, because people that I had dated previously, sometimes I would have to worry about how they would be if I was out with friends or things like that. And it all of a sudden was like, wow, I don't have to worry about that. This guy is going to make the best impression wherever we go, and we can go anywhere and do anything and have all of the adventures together, because that was actually our wedding vows. Instead of, you take so and so to be to be your husband slash wife, it was,
Oh, I see what you did there. I was like, "Why are you saying that?" Okay, I'm with you now.
do you take so and so to be the companion of your days, is what vows actually were. Um, and that's how I kind of see it, as companions in adventure. So that's the best part. Bird asks, what did Feldman first think about the idea of you making audios and writing scripts? You have to answer that one.
Oh, I was fine with it. I was glad you found something that you seemed really passionate about. I don't see the pinned questions. How do I see the pinned questions? Ah, there we go.
The pin?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Then you have to scroll down to the bottom.
Oh.
Yes, he's been hugely supportive of this whole thing, and he hasn't done it in a little while, but um, whenever I talk about projects like this, and he sometimes will lean over and just whisper, "Captain
Uh,
Man."
which is a joke, right? Because right now I work and Kim is doing the stay-at-home mom thing.
Plus Zumba.
Plus Zumba, fair. Plus some fitness instruction stuff. So I joke that she's going to make millions on YouTube so I can be a kept man.
Let's go. Clouds asks, when did you know that he was the one, and when did he feel the same? I actually had a really distinctive moment of knowing that he was the one, and he wasn't even there at the time. And I was just driving down the road. I remember exactly what road it was and where I was. And I guess I was just thinking about him, and something suddenly clicked in my brain and just went, huh, my search is over. Like, this is it. This is the guy. I am done looking. And I had never felt that way about anyone before. So that's when I knew. And actually, the only thing I don't know is when exactly that was. I'm blanking on that a little bit. It probably was around that same like Christmas time, 7 to 8 months in time period, I would guess. But I don't actually remember there being snow. But anyway.
See, I could cast stones here, but I don't remember anything, so that would go badly for me.
So when did you know?
So I don't have like a light bulb moment like that. It was just a thing that sort of gradually came to me where I'd been in a bad relationship previously, and I met Kim, and we just really hit it off, and she continued to be great and wonderful. And I kept for a while, I was waiting to be like, like, is she really like this, or is this just an act she's putting on for me? And she was really like that, and we had a ton of fun together. And I was just like, you know what, I love this girl, and I want to spend the rest of my life with her because she's awesome.
Oh. Okay. Um, so this is two questions that Bird has. Two questions. What was your first date? You can answer that.
Star Wars,
Which one?
damn it. Episode 3.
I'm holding up fingers.
She totally is.
Revenge of the Sith is what he is trying to
Yes, it was
say.
Revenge of the Sith. I
Anyway,
totally remembered that.
but that was we did that, and then we went to dinner, and the restaurant was about to close, so we decided to get takeout instead. And um while we were standing there waiting for our food, that's when we just started having thing after thing after thing that came up in conversation that we had in common. Just like one after the other after the other. And he nearly lost his mind when like DDR came up. Tells you how long ago that was. Okay. How did he propose? Actually, did you want to answer that? Or you want me to?
No, you can go ahead and answer that. That's fine.
Okay. Um so he took me out boating onto a lake, and we stopped at an island that we had frequently stopped at to have snacks and watermelon and stuff like that. So we stopped there and got out the watermelon. And he is I mean, I'm with Cassie here, guys. I have a little bit of like misophonia. Like, I don't like eating sounds. And he is the loudest person I've ever heard eat watermelon in my life. It is so loud. So so he's kind of like pacing around with the watermelon and like starting to come closer to me. And so the last thing out of my mouth before he proposed was, "Will you take your slurping elsewhere?" And then when I turned to look at him, he was on one knee. So then okay, but here comes the funny part. Oh god. This is the part where I look dumb. Okay. So the only thing that I will say to defend myself here is that when he had been telling me that he was going to propose, he had let me know that he had a little thing that he wanted to say. He wasn't just going to ask, "Will you marry me?" Like he had a thing he wanted to say. So in my mind, I, your brain starts to panic a little bit. You're like, okay, okay, this is happening. This is happening. Okay, he said he had a thing that he wanted to say. So I am going to wait until he is done saying the thing. And I did. But then the next part, the next thing out of my mouth was meant to be yes. But that's not what came out of my mouth. Instead, what came out of my mouth was, "You lied to me." Because he had me so convinced that he didn't have the ring yet. He 1000% tricked me. So not only was that the next thing out of my mouth, the thing after that, and for another 2 minutes, was me ranting at him about how he had 100% tricked me. Till finally he looks at me and was like, "I haven't heard a yes yet." And then I went, "Oh, yes." And then I started crying. So that's what happened. He had this whole thing planned where like he had set it up with a friend of his that we were going to go boating together, so it wouldn't just be the two of us. And then the friend had to, quotation marks, cancel at the last minute. So that was how he had just that, and tricking me into thinking he didn't have the ring yet. Just I had no not that I had no idea. I said something on the boat ride out to the island, and somehow you got me off the topic. I don't know how you did that.
Basic spycraft.
But anyway, that's the story of our proposal. And yeah. So yes, I felt ridiculous that cuz what happened is that like in my brain I said yes, but I like and then I just like skipped over it. Like I thought I had already said it. Not that like I didn't want to say it or I wasn't going to. I thought I already had, and like I was just moving on to the next thing, which was yelling at him for tricking me so thoroughly. So that's how that happened. Okay, this one'll be fun. The question for
All
you.
right. So, what was my first reaction when I heard about Cardland/ASMR roleplay versus what do I think of it now? So, when I first heard it, I laughed my ass off. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was really, really amusing. Um, but I was like, yeah, like this is a thing that you're having fun with, and you seem to be really enjoying. So, by all means, carry on. And then, I was dragged into doing some lines for things. Go
Which is
ahead.
how the whole which is how the whole Feldman thing happened for
Yep.
the Cliff Notes version for you.
And I saw how much fun Kim was having with it. I'm glad it's a thing that brings her such happiness. Does that answer your question, Booga?
But what do you think of it? Oh, so now you're just like
Yeah,
okay with it. Yeah.
it's fun. I mean, it's a lot like telling stories or like the radio dramas, right? Back in the 20s and 30s and even a little bit before.
Right.
Right on.
Which is something I was already in love with, and this just takes it to a whole nother level. So yay. So yes, I know that I think this is an interesting topic. I know that sometimes people will message some of these artists being like, "My significant other is jealous that I listen to you." That always kind of puzzles me personally, but Feldman did point out that maybe it's different with us being married. They're like, then that's not as much of a concern, but I still think it's kind of weird. I'm like, it's just a character, it's just a voice, you know? I
Yeah,
mean,
again, a lot of it comes down to communication, right? And sort of like
mm,
insecurity in your own relationship. So if
right.
people are insecure in their relationship, then they're gonna be like, oh, like they're listening to something else. Like, this is a need I'm not fulfilling. They don't want me, they want this other person. Whereas it's just like, it's a fun thing. It's something you really enjoy. So
And I actually have written a script about this that I need to finish, but one of the ways that I think about it is that um that Feldman is not a squeaky toy, right? I can't just like poke at him and be like, say the thing, say the
She's
thing, say the
she's
thing.
poking me.
So you can't just like when you're wanting that fantasy or to hear those words, especially if you want to hear them over and over again, you don't want to be actually asking your real life significant other for that because that would be fucking annoying, right? So yeah, it just that's another part of it that just kind of puzzles me is that that kind of thing doesn't work in real life, and that's why we have this. And um yeah, that you're not like a squeaky toy or a robot that you just poke at and be like, say the thing, say the thing.
Exterminate.
Okay. Clouds asks, sorry. So to the proposer, when did you know it was the right time, and did you worry about being rejected?
So it was just the relationship was great. It was moving along. We'd talked about it. So it seemed like we were both on board. And it was just one of those things where I wanted to surprise her, and it seemed like a good time. And I didn't worry about being rejected until she never actually said yes. So
Did you have a moment of panic there, or
no, no,
no?
no.
Yeah, no, I didn't think so.
It was just funny.
And the proposee, did you know you were going to get proposed to? Did you have to think about the answer before giving it? You pretty much thoroughly answered that. No, I mean, we talked about it. Like, I'm really not a fan of complete surprise proposals. Like, you really need to talk about that. Don't go buy a ring if you're not sure. Like, don't do that. Be sure that the person is that you're both on the same page. We actually had this book that we went through before we got married, which was something like 500 questions to ask before you get married, and we just would go through a couple questions on our way to work. I mean, I can't say that like it was foolproof or anything, but I think it brought up some good points for us to discuss. Are you even remembering this, or are you just giving me a blank look?
I totally remember that.
So helpful, that book. Great. Fantastic. All right. Did you have to think about the answer before giving it? No, I knew I was going to say yes, so much so that I forgot to say it. But yes, generally I knew a proposal was coming. I just didn't know it was going to be that day. He did utterly surprise me. Okay. Bird asks, what was the first thing you did or said when you saw each other on your wedding day? So this one.
I just couldn't stop smiling because Kim looked radiant and beautiful, and I was very excited to be there, and just there's a sort of overwhelming feeling of happiness.
I was feeling I mean, I was obviously very happy, and it does feel surreal, that moment, because I think especially for women, you're sort of dreaming of this day, right? And then all of a sudden it's actually there. The photographer, I think, caught the moment where it's sort of like sunk in for me, and I just look like Bambi in the headlights. Like my eyes just kind of went wide for a second. I'm like, oh right, this is happening. This is real. Okay, for real this time. Um and yeah, so I was a little bit nervous, and my maid of honor actually like gave me like a little hug, because like I think I was like almost shaking, because like the adrenaline is just really really pumping, and I'm super sensitive to it, so it tends to go right through me. um and yeah, so we were just like smiling at each other and everything and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is that I'm standing there like facing the pastor, trying to pay attention, listening to all the stuff that we wanted included in the ceremony that we're supposed to be paying attention to, and he's just staring at me. Like, you can see it on the video, and the pastor even stopped for a second because she was like, he just you should what did she say? Well, I'm asking you. You don't remember. She was just like, you should see the way he's looking at her. He just loves her so much. Um, Something like that. And
And she said, and Kim looks at me and she's like, "Stop it!"
I don't actually said that, but I was trying to like tilt my head like pay attention. You're supposed to be paying attention. Uh, okay. So yeah, we didn't really say much to each other um in the moment. Because I was trying to pay attention, and we were running late because it rained on our wedding day, and it was a whole thing about whether we were going to have the ceremony inside or outside or inside or outside. So they had like just moved everybody back inside, so we were late. So I was like trying to keep things running.
Well, not only that, but the best man and party who had the rings was running super late. So I was concerned that we were going to be starting a wedding and wouldn't have any rings.
And like half of your wedding party.
Yeah, and half of my wedding party, true.
Okay. So yeah, and then oh, I know what it was. So I think the first thing I actually said to you besides I do was at the end of the wedding, surprising me again. He kissed me, but then he dipped me, and I wasn't expecting it. So, and you can hear it on the wedding video that when we come back up and finish the kiss, I then said to him, "You're in so much trouble." Just 'cause- so I was overwhelmed. I wasn't expecting
Story
it.
of my life.
Um, yeah, and then honestly, after that, everything's just kind of a blur. Then we do the receiving line, yada yada yada. Yeah, we had a few like quiet moments after all the pictures were done, but then we used them to like practice our dance. So I don't know, it was a little crazy. But if
She was a slave driver.
I was not, but if anybody, if you guys are in long-term relationships or you're getting married, my my best friend, maid of honor, and her sister was also in the wedding party. They drilled this into me. You got to remember this for your wedding day advice. If at the end of the day you are married, it went well. Everything else is gravy. Okay, nothing else matters. And if that doesn't happen, obviously something went very, very wrong. So just remember that that's the priority because that happened that day. The weather wasn't cooperating. The music was like, my music started early that I wanted to walk into, and I kept reminding myself, I'm like, you know what? In the grand scheme of things, that does not matter, especially with all the decisions that in the current like wedding culture are put on brides. Like it's ridiculous. Um, you just because they all seem so important at the time, but then you have to remember it's really not. It's all about getting married. Okay. Hidayah asks a very loaded question that we were discussing earlier. What is one thing that annoys you about the other? So we were discussing this as we were going to dinner tonight, and he turned to me and he was like, I bet that we can name each other's thing that we're going to pick. And we both did. So that's what being together this long does for you. Um, I will say that what annoys me the most about him is when he can be a little bit judgmental, which translates also sometimes into being a little grouchy. So, just besides, and that's
Damn
besides the
kids, get off my
puns.
lawn.
All right, your turn.
So Kim got this one immediately, which was she was like, what annoys me, and it was basically, I guess I'll say it in such a way that it's like, in our household, things have places where you expect them to be, and those things don't always end up back in those places. So when another person is looking for those things, you might say, "Hey, where is this thing?" And then, "Why is it not where it belongs?" So yeah, and it's especially difficult with things for our child because I'll be trying to get something done quickly, and I'm trying to find like shoes or sunglasses or underwear or something, and I'm like, it's not in the drawer. Where is it? So having things in their places can be a little frustrating.
Yeah, I am not an organized person by any means. I'm a little scatterbrained, and when something leaves my hand, it leaves my brain. Like it may as well not exist. And like that's just how my brain works. Like it's not on purpose. That's literally how it happens. Anyway, so yeah, but yes, I just thought it was funny that we looked at each other and both figured out what the other one was going to say. So no surprises there. Go right. So what is one thing that you love about the other? Well, it could be like we kind of answered that earlier, right?
Sure.
Okay. So
Certainly, I will add that Kim's sense of fun and general good mood is something that's wonderful. It balances out my grumpiness.
your house is on fire and you only have time to grab 3 things from your house before the fire burns everything. Assuming you already have your pets, kids, valuables like ID, wallet, what would those 3 things be? Oh god. Are we including invaluables there? Are we including my phone? Would that be included as a valuable? Yeah, okay. All right. So what else? Hmm. If you got anything for this, jump in because I know we're both like looking around the room as if this is gonna give us answers.
Like I want to say my computer, but it's kind of big.
You could still, you
Yeah,
could try.
insurance.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Yeah. I mean, I actually kind of want mine too. So I guess each of us would grab our computer.
Yep.
Um. Hmm. Anything else? This is like I feel like this question is so different now in this digital age where everything is like backed up because I feel like in the past people would answer like photo album, but even our our wedding album and everything is all digital. I mean, we have a printed copy, but it's probably gathering dust because we never take it out and look at it because when I want to see those pictures, I just, go to where they're saved and look at them there. So yeah, I feel like this is a different question than it used to be, and I just like nothing else is really. Oh, I might want to grab my folder of geek cred.
That's a good one.
So that's because I think I've posted some of them here. That's a folder I've been collecting of celebrity photos at various conventions. However, as soon as I say that, I realize a lot of those are digital as well, but a lot of them are signed. So it's just that, like a lot of money has gone into that, so I might want to hold on to it. I'd probably also grab my teddy bear that I've had since I was 12 because that's irreplaceable. So um, that's 3 things for me right there. I won't pressure you to come up with 2 more if you can't come up with 2 more.
I'm gonna say probably a very expensive firearm.
Mm. Anything else? Maybe would you grab like one of your mom's scarves or pillows or something?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. There you go. That was a good question today. I like that. How long have we been together before he proposed? He proposed on I know this.
I'm so glad she doesn't expect me to know this.
August 11th, 2007. So we had been together for about 2 years.
Over 2 years.
Okay, yes. So there you go. That's how long.
Yes, firearm is a gun.
B wants to know specifics.
Are you asking which firearm?
Yes, I think that is what he's asking.
It could be one of a couple. I've got a Brazos Custom STI Edge. So Bach, to answer your question, I wouldn't say I'm a competitive shooter per se, especially now that we have a child. I have shot competitively in the past and done quite well. I don't know if you know anything about like USPSA or IDPA, but I got up to B class in USPSA and master in IDPA. So for a while I was pretty serious about it, and now I just do it sort of whenever I get a free weekend and have the time.
Which sometimes leads to funny discussions if he's going shooting with a group of friends and they decide to get lunch or something because it comes out that Feldman is a vegetarian, which all the shooting guys find very, very funny for some reason.
They do. Especially when I beat 80% of them.
He only hunts paper. And that is all his life. He has never eaten meat or eggs intentionally.
Right.
Ever. Probably could not digest it now if you tried.
Yeah, it'd be bad.
Okay. Ashley has a cute little question here. What animal would you describe each other as? We both just made the same, like, alarmed, puzzled faces at each other. Oh gosh, I feel like my answer is gonna get me in trouble.
You always say I have monkey arms.
I do say that a lot. He just has really long arms, so and our son has picked that up too when I said that, like, Daddy has long monkey arms. I don't know what animal you're gonna describe me as. He just made the face again in case you're curious.
I'm thinking there's so many options.
I think, and I know this is gonna sound very funny to all of the cardigans in the audience, that I'm gonna have to go with bear.
Roar.
I mean, it's just of any animal I can think of that I I think that's what I would describe you as.
Fair enough.
Yes, I know, Cassie, but I can't think of another one, honestly.
All that comes to mind for me is fox.
I thought you might say like I mean, I'm fine with fox. I thought you might say either like cat or otter.
Otter's not bad. Like
Yeah.
cat, you're not enough of an asshole to be a cat. So
Uh, a hamster. Oh, thank you, Hidai. Yes, and I would consider like if I had a Patronus, it would be an otter, definitely. I've always loved otters. And when we were vacationing in California, we went to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. What a beautiful place that is. And we were there really, really late, like right at closing time. And there was in the otter enclosure, the otters had all piled on top of each other in like these perfect little crescents and to sleep, and it was so cute. I tried to get a picture of it, but it came out kind of blurry. It was
a-
just adorable.
as I recall, the comment was, It's a ball of otters."
They also had a great white shark on display that day, and they had like signs everywhere being like, "Don't do flash photography in this room. It's going to freak out the shark." And the tank was filled with these giant sunfish because, I don't think sharks really go after them very much. But anytime the shark would like suddenly speed up and like do like a zigzag through the water, everything in the tank freaked out for a second. It was just like, oh god, okay, 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 he's calm again, he's calm again. We're good, we're good. Uh,
Does anyone else have any other questions? Or we could do relationship advice.
that's an interesting idea. I mean, I think we'd be good at it, but I don't know how many people here are in relationships. I think Bone is. Oh, wait, what sign are you? Buka has to know.
I see that.
You
I'm
don't
trying.
know.
Pisces.
Are you?
Am I? Yes. Yes, I am.
When you were single, did you ever think you'd meet the love of your life? Yeah, I I definitely did. I was um I've always been very boy crazy. Um all my life. In fact, when I was in kindergarten, one of the teachers complained to my mother that the boys were all fighting over me. And my mom had a wonderful response to this. She just looked at her, she's like, "What do you want me to do about that?" Which was a great answer because it's not, I mean, it wasn't my fault, right? So, anyway,
It was
just
her fault.
I can only think of like one time I maybe instigated it. Anyway, but I was like that always, always thinking of like grand romantic adventures. So I was always looking for it and waiting for the day that it would happen and thinking that maybe it had happened before, but then when you have the real thing, in my opinion, you really truly know. It just feels different. Would you agree with that? Don't just waggle your eyebrows. I can't interpret that.
Oh, I think you can.
Uh, what about you? You didn't answer that question. When you were single, did you ever think you'd meet the love of your life?
I hoped. Yeah, I hoped.
Good answer.
Oh, that's a good question. Did we establish a list of rules for the house?
No.
I,
And we didn't I feel like I sort of absorbed into your house. I'm not explaining that well. It wasn't like we were living separately and then one day I, planned it and was like, okay, I'm going to move in. It was like we spent all of a sudden we just started spending almost all of our time together. And like I just kind of like kept bringing over more stuff until I don't know, like probably 6 months in or maybe less that we were like, okay, let's just move all my stuff in because clearly this is a thing. And I wouldn't we definitely didn't have a set of rules or anything. But that was again that all comes back to communication. It's certainly not a bad idea if you move in with somebody, especially in I'd say actually with the roommate I was living with before that, we definitely had a list of rules that we both like read and signed and agreed to. So I think in general that is a really good thing to do. But did we do it? No, we didn't.
what are each of our biggest pet peeves about each other or not?
Um, Actually, we definitely have one in common, which is irrationality.
Yes.
That's a huge pet peeve for both of us. And in fact, to the point where like it just, yeah, it really sets me off. So that can be a tough one. I know that's sort of, I don't know if that even counts as like a pet peeve. I feel like pet peeve is like, people chewing with their mouths open or something like that, which, don't do that. Can you think of something else that
No,
I,
I mean that's like that and yeah. Again, I think we've already discussed the things that annoy us. Bad communication
yeah,
uh, is a pet peeve of mine. I see a lot of people sort of around us, at work or in life, who have really poor communication uh, with their spouses, for example. And I'll see, uh, for example, one of the things that I've seen a fair amount of is people who, the husband works and the wife's doing the stay-at-home mom thing, which in a lot of cases, actually financially makes sense because in our area, childcare is ridiculously expensive, especially if you want, good childcare, which what parent doesn't? But the it seems like the couple never has the discussion about, if you're going to be a stay-at-home mom, then being a mom is basically your job, right? And it's not fair for the other party, namely the husband in most cases, to be sort of, all right, I'm home from work, now I have kid duty. right? You sort of have to split that up so both people get free time. I see a lot of husbands, notably, things like shooting events, complaining that oh, like my wife only lets me out here like once a month, and like she wants to do stuff on the weekends, and I have to take care of the kids, and it's like it's a fundamentally unfair and unhealthy dynamic that a lot of people just don't seem to want to address. So that
That
was
again, circles back to communication and just checking in with each other. And we try to plan these things ahead. I have this thing coming up, so is it okay if I go do that? So that kind of thing. And I just try to be conscious of if I wanted like a whole weekend to do something with my girlfriends or whatever, I would let him know that like well in advance and certainly not just like run off at the last minute because that's not respectful. And yeah, but and on the flip side of that is, oftentimes women feeling like they can't leave their husbands with the kids because they don't know what to do, they won't know what to cook, all that kind of thing, and that's also bullshit. Like weaponized ignorance right there. Like you can you can be an adult, but yeah, but definitely talking to each other about that and making sure that we both get free time and time to pursue our hobbies and relax and spend time with friends is hugely important to staying healthy. So, yeah,
awesome.
communicate. There's a fun question for you. What's the best thing that I can cook?
Hmm. There are a lot of things. I do really like that cauliflower soup.
I haven't made that in so long.
I'm trying to think what else.
There's also that beer and cheese soup I make at the
Oh yeah, the beer
holidays.
and cheese soup is really good.
I'll put up a recipe for that at some point. It's really good. Though the recipe for it is so small, like you need to like quadruple it, trust me. You won't want to stop eating it.
What else did
Oh,
we have
that
there?
was that
Yeah,
was
I think that's it.
the last question so far. Anybody else got any other questions or relationship advice is not a bad thing to be asking us because clearly we're doing something right. High five.
Yes, I'm really happy that Kim has found this community, and I think you guys are very healthy, and you bring her a lot of happiness and laughter. So I really appreciate that.
Oh. Oh, thank you, Buka.
You can't be all bad. You know what some of the guns I was talking about are.
Actually, I thought it was adorable. I think this happened on the palace, not here. When I was talking about something about you and Ashley, was it you that said I ship you? And you're like, "Wait, you're already married. I can't ship you." I'm like, "Ah, you can ship us." And I told him this, and he was just like, "Oh, I don't mind being shipped with you. I get the better end of the deal or something like that."
Smooth, am I right? Do I know how good my voice is? I actually really dislike my voice when I hear it played back.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I've told you this.
Oh, well, I didn't remember. I'm usually good at remembering things. I didn't remember that.
So, so no, I do not know how good my voice is, and like I said, I think it's oddly like nasally. So anyway,
Well, how does it feel to be wrong?
I'm married, so I'm used to it.
I feel like I'm like one of the few people that I actually do like my voice. I was feeling a little self-conscious when I did the collaboration with all the other ladies because I suddenly realized, at least for a female voice, that my voice is a little on the lower side, and I felt a little weird about that. But then I was just like, okay, so that's a thing. But I actually don't mind listening to my stuff back. So, Cassie, Jesus.
It's funny, right? Like talking about that whole thing, like being whipped. Like that's not even really like a dynamic in our relationship, which
No.
is interesting because that's something that we both hear a lot of people like either talk about or complain about. And it's never even really been an issue because I feel like a lot of that comes down to sort of unreasonable demands or unreasonable expectations. And since our communication is so good, we just don't find ourselves in that spot, right?
Yeah. And sometimes I worry if my friends think that, like when I am doing something out with my girlfriends and we're trying to decide maybe, oh, should we go get dinner or, should we put on another movie or something like that? And I'm like, oh, I need to check in and see how they're doing. Um, so I sometimes worry that they think that, but they have never said anything. So that's probably just me being paranoid. Because again, like that's checking in with each other and making sure, just communicating and um, making sure that needs are being met. But also recognizing, speaking of, having outside interests and outside friends, don't expect your partner to meet all of your needs. That's not how it works. You're not completing each other. You're two complete people coming together who complement each other. You don't I don't expect him to meet all of my needs, and that's the a little bit like the squeaky toy thing I was talking about. I found another way to meet those needs. When I like my brain wants to go like high fantasy, I'm not going to poke at him to be like, "Hey, do this thing for me." I'm going to go listen to Cardlin. And when I need time with my friends, I go out and do that. And you don't expect your whole, you know, don't expect your partner to be your whole world. It does not work like that, and it is not healthy. Uh that's not a healthy relationship, and that's not a healthy expectation. So don't do
So,
that.
so I see with some other questions. I just want to add something on here, which I kind of feel is like a general life lesson. Like one of the reasons that we will check in with each other so often is not because like someone's whipped or whatever, but it's because when you set an expectation, one of the most frustrating things in the world is when someone sets an expectation with you and then doesn't communicate that that expectation has changed. This is something I deal with all the time in the professional space. And it's like, all you have to do if something is going to change is communicate, right? Just say, hey, this has changed. Like, is it okay if I stay longer? Is it, whatever, or this is going to be late or I'm going to be late. And that sets it up so the other person knows what's going on and they're not left hanging in this limbo. Like one of the things I recently was talking about again in the professional space was someone was talking about updating issues in an tracker type of thing. And I was saying, look, you need to put in an update, even if your update is, I have no further information on this. Because what you're doing is you're providing certainty, right? And when people start to get stressed, it's because of uncertainty. So even if you're calling and saying, hey, like no update, right? It's like, oh, okay. Like that's fine. Now I know. Like I know it's not being ignored, right? I know it's not forgotten, things like that. So anyway, that was my brief soapbox about communication in general, specifically setting expectations.
Right. And and that's the thing, like applying that specifically back to what I was talking about, that when I'm going out for the day, or he is, we always want to know when the other is going to be home so that we can plan for that. And also we can prepare our son for that as well and set his expectations, because he always likes to know what's going on and what's happening, which is understandable, right? And he life just flows more smoothly when that's the case. So, and when those things change, or again, I might be out with girlfriends and we might decide to get dinner or put on another movie or whatever, but I always check in because those expectations were set, and I don't want to just change them without letting him know, because that's rude.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So how do you explain issues to friends slash vent without making each other look bad? I don't know. I'll speak to my own experience here. Like for me, that's not really an issue because if I am like temporarily annoyed about something, it's something where, like I was saying, like pet peeves. They'll be, talking to a friend, they'll be like, Kim, didn't put, one of our son's backpack isn't where it was supposed to be. And I'll be like, I just spent freaking 15 minutes and it turns out like his backpack was like in the refrigerator or something. Which, it's not that bad, but right. So anyway, like I was saying, the issues, at least on my end, have been so minor that it's stuff that it's like you're clearly just griping about an incident rather than, like an inherent part of your partner's personality or, of something that, makes them them, right? It's not
Right.
like,
Exactly.
I'm saying like, oh God, like, she has such stinky feet or something. And it's awful, right? Which she doesn't, for the record. She has little princess toes.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think, Cassie, the thing is that I don't think it's necessarily possible that sometimes you might be venting a little bit, and yeah, maybe my friends will get on my side and be like, "Arr," but there's such
I see how it is.
but there's when there's that fundamental love and respect underneath it, then you don't get into those things where they think then, oh, you're a bad person or something like that. I'm not explaining that well. I was
No,
trying to go off of what you're saying.
it's fair. It's like you might be like, hey, Feldman was being an asshole today, because he's having a rough day at work or something,
Right.
but it's like, well, he's not always an asshole. It was just this one time. So
Right.
hopefully not always an asshole.
No, that's what it is. So, but I think that, I mean, I used to be in a work environment that was mostly women, and sometimes those women would just go to town railing against their husbands, to the point where I'm like, why? You know? And it's that, at that point, where when it's systemic like that and you're complaining all the time, it's like, maybe you have some serious issues that need to be addressed here, and it's not about the freaking dishes, okay? That's emblematic of something else. um so yeah, I think that that's the difference. Like, there's a big difference between being like, oh, god, I can't even think of anything, like, or I feel like it's easier to do it in my case. It's like, oh, she forgot, to get the child's laundry, back upstairs or whatever. And it's obviously, again, not learned helplessness or anything here. Obviously he can do that too. But that, a minor complaint like that doesn't turn into, she's an awful person or never helps me or anything like that, because that's not the case. And that, that's what a healthy relationship looks like, is that you can weather those things together successfully when you have a strong foundation. So blah 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 blah.
And to that specific point, right? If there is something where I feel like I'm not getting enough help, or something else is going on, like I will bring it up, right? I won't just sit there and stew about it and like
Yes.
complain to my friends as be like, "Arr, like she never helps around the house and like I have to do everything." I'm like, all right, I feel like I need more help around the house. Like, let's talk about that and take it from there.
Right. And we've had those discussions, and they're not easy. They suck, but they are so necessary. But yeah, if you're dealing with a big issue and you're venting to your friends, it's like, are you talking to the right person? The person who's actually going to be able to help you solve this, or not? Um,
So
yeah.
Boog asked a question that's getting lost, just FYI.
Oh, okay. Besides the credit card info, what
Yep.
did she ask?
So percent wise, how much is supposed to be met for a relationship to work, in your opinion?
You mean, are you talking about in terms of needs being met? Just trying to clarify. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Um. Oh gosh, I don't know if I can like. I don't know that there's a mathematical number there, and it can shift, right? Like at different points in your life. Like when I was a new mom and our son had just been born, like I needed him 100%, because in addition to new baby, I was very ill when our son was born, so like he had to do everything. All I could do was basically sleep and feed the baby, and that was it. But at other points in our life, it's not like that. And So that can definitely shift around and change. Um, so I don't know that you can boil it down to a number like that.
Yeah, I agree. And in terms of, I guess if you're looking for like how much fulfillment you're looking to get from your partner versus, from yourself, I would probably put that pretty close to 50-50, right?
Yeah.
Because again, it's two people coming together who should already have, interests and things they like to do and hobbies. And those aren't things where when you're together, it's like, oh, like those suddenly should go away and we should only do things together, right? Which again is
Yes.
another thing that I feel like we see a lot of. It's like, no, like those hobbies and interests still exist and we should be free to pursue them. And we're going to add things that we like to do together. So while we may have less time to pursue those things individually, it's not like we're giving it up, right? And I feel like that's a thing that we see a lot of sort of systemically in modern society where there's this expectation where like two people are together and it's like, oh hey, like now we have to do everything together. That's like that's just not true. And to an extent, I actually feel that that's unhealthy. So does that answer
Someone
your question, Buga?
and someone was just giving you shit about that the other day because we hadn't watched a show together yet because we wanted to watch The Boys on Amazon because I am a huge Carl Urban fan. So we do want to watch that and we would like to watch it together, but I've been so busy like here and doing video editing and audio editing and in the evenings he likes to game and relax with his friends. We just haven't set aside time to watch it together. And you want to take it from there, like your friend was giving you crap like, why haven't you watched this yet?
Yeah, and it was just one of those things where sort of the expectation was like, oh, like after you put the child to bed, like that's when you have to spend time like as a couple. And it's like, you know what? We're perfectly happy, doing what we're doing, which is often with Kim doing things with you guys, and doing audio things and editing audio and stuff, and me, playing Overwatch or whatever, and we're sitting right next to each other, and it's fine. And like we're both happy with that. And if we want to do something together, we'll speak to each other, be like, hey, like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is like, no, not right now. And then we'll, work it out. But yeah,
And he checks in with me on that frequently, to check in, do you want to do something together right now, or are you happy with what you're doing? He asks that almost every single night when we're chilling out. So that's a good thing. And that's also, just using your voice and trying to speak up for your own needs and not expecting your partner to be psychic. If I am feeling like I need that closeness, I just tell him. I'm like, you know what? Can you finish up that game so we can go do something together? So yeah, just don't don't expect your partner to be psychic is the lesson here.
and part of that too is, I know we've talked about this a little bit already, but like being respectful if your partner has plans, right? And not making the thing about like, no, I need you to spend time with me instead. And like, it might sound stupid to some people to be like, oh, like, your wife has something planned on the internet to talk to people, like she could just ditch that. And it's like, no, that's something, she's looking forward to. She's scheduled. I need to be respectful of that. This actually makes me think of, what was that show, Castle, where he's got a recurring video game set up with some of his buddies that they're playing. And Stanya Kedek comes and is like, hey, come to bed. And he's like, I got like this video game thing. And she has the sexy thing. She's like, come to bed. He's like looking at her and he looks at the video game and she gets mad because he won't drop what he's doing and come with her.
Right,
And like that really stuck with me as like, like that's a fundamentally like unhealthy expectation. But
right.
anyway,
I mean, sexy surprises are fun, but
sure,
but you still need to
absolutely.
be respectful.
And the odds are that you probably would drop it. But right,
But you shouldn't. She also shouldn't expect that every time.
right,
You know.
exactly. So how's your life changed since having your son? Was there any moment when it brought y'all closer? Or was there a moment that made y'all mad at each other? So
Good.
I'm going to start off by saying that those first 2 years, yeah, the first year at least, when there's very little sleep to go around for everyone, like that's a cranky year for everyone.
Oh,
And like things get snippy and it's really, really difficult.
Another
And
reason to have a strong foundation before you go adding to your family.
yeah. Um, so that so certainly, yes, there are moments when we got mad at each other. There were moments where, we would just be tired and something stupid would happen and we'd snap and get mad and yell and it would be bad, but we'd work through it. And there sort of has to be this awareness, right? That like fundamentally raising a child is a difficult thing, right? And it's going to put new and different stress on you as a couple, and you need to be aware of that and try and be like more forgiving. People do get snippy or mad or whatever.
Yeah,
So
the no sleep thing, I mean, it just God, the first time your child sleeps for more than like 5 hours, you feel like a new human being. Like I am not exaggerating. I really am not.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's really that first year is really, really tough. Um, and yeah, obviously having a child does change your life, and we were prepared for that because basically, going back to our year of hell, 2013, that just before I was fired from my job is when we had decided to start trying for a child. So then that's when we made that decision that, okay, we're just going to keep along this path rather than me going back to work. And so, yeah, my life looks very, very different than it did. Um, I mean, how can it not? Like, how can it not change you? Um, but yeah, thingy. Sorry, sort of lost my train of thought there.
no,
I mean, basically, like it does bring you closer, and like watching the person you love with your child does generate the warm fuzzies. Um, God damn it! Sorry, I keep losing my train of thought here. Uh, but yeah, I felt like it. Hmm. I feel like maybe we're closer now. Like I think that like obviously we were supporting each other through that journey, but I'd say that like there is a little bit of disconnection that happened. And we just both had to grow through that and work through it. Um and come out stronger on the other side like you do. Does that thoroughly answer that question, I think? Kind of? Yeah. All right. Anybody else got any questions?
it's funny that you asked that. I am a huge fan of cheese. I love pretty much all kinds of cheese, including like weird stinky cheeses. So, boy, cheese. Love the cheese.
I am a sharp cheddar person. Um Definitely. That's probably my favorite. I feel like there's one other kind of cheese that I like that I'm not thinking of. Stilton is good. What
Okay.
was that? Was that we went into a cheese shop by the seaside, and what did we get? We got like some kind of like mango cheese type
Yeah,
thing.
it was like a mango ginger Stilton or something like that.
Yeah, it was really good.
Crazy fancy cheese, people.
Yes. That was also our anniversary actually. That was I think that was 6 years cuz our son was just a baby
Mm,
at that point. That was actually a really good day. Just like went to this like sophisticated seaside town near where we live, about an hour away, and just spent the day like eating and going through the little boutique shops and stuff like that. So yeah, that was a good day. Um, I
it-
do not like blue cheese at all. Ugh. Anything that has like that tangy taste to it just puts me right off. Meh.
it's not often that Kim is wrong, but when she is, she goes big.
Like a big cheese.
That's right, the big cheese.
See,
Favorite
sometimes
favorite alcohols.
uh I generally like really, really sweet things. So I like margaritas, mai tais, and recently, finally, I found some wines that I like that are sweet, like Riesling and Moscato. And He was just saying to me tonight at dinner that I've developed a little bit of a tolerance finally, because I am a bit of a featherweight. What about you? You want to talk about beer?
I am a beer snob, so I like some of the interesting and fancy beers. Uh, One of my favorite beers is La Fin du Monde, which is actually a Canadian beer. And there have actually been some really interesting beers released by founders this year. One of which was a watermelon sea salt sour beer, which was delicious. And then they had another beer that was sort of like a Trappist style ale aged in tequila barrels that was called Mas Agave. That was amazing. And again, had a real sour note to it. But, alcohol, generally fun.
And it's very funny because he'll get excited about these beers. Mostly he's over this at this point. But for a while he would be like, well, just taste it. It's so good. Just taste it. And I taste it. I'm like, it tastes like beer. Because that's all I can taste.
It's not often that there's disappointment writ large upon my face.
What are you talking about? You lying liar. All right. Anybody else have any questions? I think we caught all of those. Oh, Cassie wants to know how you feel about meat. I do not like meat. It's not sweet enough for me.
That's actually an interesting question, Cassie. I was recently at a boutique beer shop, and the guy makes his own mead, and it was a really, really sweet mead that also had a high ABV, and it was actually quite good. And it was the first mead I want to say I've ever had that I actually liked. So generally speaking, commercial mead is a pretty hard no for both of us. But I'd be willing to try that again.
All right. Well, I think that's probably a good place to wrap up anyway, because it's getting late and we've been talking for a long time. Oh, well, I guess we're not quite at the 2 hour mark. But anyway, that's still a good stopping point. But thank you all for hanging out with us and asking questions and helping us celebrate our anniversary, because we sometimes will like to do something special like go away for the weekend or whatever, and usually my parents are around to babysit, but they are out of the country currently attending my cousin's wedding, so they were not around. So I just thought we'd celebrate with all of you instead, which has been fun.